Seth's in there.
It was Sally!
Nice one, Seth. And so, as I said, yeah, here he is, Sensei Yaman. Why are you sitting in the back? I used to introduce you, I spent like 4 minutes. Since 7:06. You meant to come in like a flying fox or a jet. Through the window. Through the window. Riding a cow. What superhero is that? Alright, cool. Actually, quick before I start. We're getting a camp, if you're interested, a camp t-shirt made up. Alright, so all of the senior instructors have got an email that came out yesterday. My apologies for the lateness because I didn't think about it until too late. So we're having just a standard black belt camp t-shirt for anyone that goes to black belt camps this year. Alright, in Australia, New Zealand, even the UK, same t-shirt. So tomorrow, say Nick, yeah? So she's going to bring down some forms that you can, if you want to order it on the spot, you can just order it and just hand it into, who's going to be the nominated person that collects them?
Oh, Shihan.
Okay, so over here. So Hayden's going to be the the person you can give the forms into. I think we've got about a week. If you want to sort of organise it, you can either organise a credit card. I think they've organised credit card payments, because everyone keeps saying, why don't we have credit cards? So you can organise it tomorrow if you want, or you can have a week or so, I think, to put orders in, and then we'll get them made and get them out to everyone. Yeah? That's optional. Yeah? You don't have to do it. But, hey?
Will they be personally autographed?
You can autograph it, yeah. So. You saw us kicking today, you better get the autograph now. You can say, I knew him when. It's just a sensei. Alright? Not a superstar. So yeah, that's all cool. So today's training was great. It's always good to catch up with you guys. I think last time I was here last year, I know we had a bit of a chat as well about teaching. Yeah? How to sort of inspire our students. I can't recall what else we might have talked about that night. Does anyone else remember? Who took notes, put into play?
Great.
I'll show you the video.
Great.
Okay, great combination. We talked a bit about that. What else was there?
Retention.
Sorry?
We did a lot from last year.
Yeah.
Retention since
We talked about retention, didn't we? There was a lot of talk about retention. What people do in their classes to have a great, to establish a good environment for teaching. Yeah. Have a good culture within a dojo, whether it be Facebook pages or the way we promote things, or bringing parents into the centre of the dojo at the end of class to talk about what's happening, and getting them more involved. How to teach different grades so that they're inspired and all the rest of it. We still are continuing that conversation. It's not one of those things we can talk about once and it's over and done with. All right. It is something we want to continue to talk about, because it's a big part of who we are and what we do. It's not. I don't think it's fair. I don't think any of us would agree it's fair for anyone to come and start training with a karate club like GKR and then become bored. You know what I mean? And let's be honest. I mean, we should all take personal responsibility for our dojos, our place in the organisation. All right, as instructors. So that starts with myself, Sensei Gavin, the senior instructor, yourselves, yeah. But we've all got a job or a role or a responsibility as karate instructors. Okay, and that is to uphold obviously the general values of what we do, but also it is to make sure that when students come to us, we give them the best training experience we can, so they can learn karate, but also gain the benefits, gain from all the benefits that they wanted to gain from. Yeah. In this day and age, things are not getting any any safer out there either. And it kind of strikes me every now and then when you hear stuff on the news about, this happening to, this person or that child or whatever, and it's like, we teach people to have a greater awareness of what's happening in their environment, to be more confident, perhaps to have some skills, physical strength, some skills. We teach all that, and we've got to do a damn good job of it. We can't guarantee anything to anybody, but as we've probably heard many times now, knowing something is better than knowing nothing, right? And so we've got to make sure we are, we are giving people what they come for, okay? And the way I'm thinking right now is, somebody comes to our dojo, white belt, we've got to start telling them, we've got to start showing them or giving them the why we do what we do first. Like why we do, the basics we do, why we learn, why we do certain things. Give them a greater sense of vision and understanding. Put more meaning and purpose into the techniques, yeah? From a self-defense perspective, right? Because a lot of us, we might be sitting there thinking, well, I didn't know any of that, and I was all right, I'm still here. We're one of the lucky 1 in 10,000, maybe, right, that made it through. Right? How many people did you start training with when you were a white belt, first, second, third lesson? How many of those guys are still around with you? How many of that group of 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 are still training with you? You might be lucky to know 1 or 2, yeah? But the rest, gone, yeah? They're gone because they learnt everything and they know how to protect themselves and they're confident? Probably not. They probably left for whatever other reason. More than anything, they probably just got bored. Yeah? Maybe they didn't get what they came for. So what we want to do over the course of the next little while as a club is really consider what it should be that we're teaching beginners, especially beginners, to put them on the right track, on the right path, right? Because everyone comes for different reasons, right? Some people want to learn self-defense, others say they want to gain confidence, others say they want to get fit, become more flexible, train with a family, socially, there's lots of different reasons people come and do karate training, yeah? But really the primary driver is what? Self-defense. The primary driver is personal protection. It's karate. It's not, what do you call that thing? Origami. It's not origami. It's not, decorative pot, design. It's karate training. So personal protection is the first thing, the primary driver that people start, yeah? So how exciting then is it for someone to start with that in mind, and 12 weeks later, they've struggled through 12, 13 weeks of training, and they go to karate grading, they get their yellow belt, and the biggest achievement they have under their belt is that they know first kata pattern. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I survived and I got to yellow belt, and I know first kata. I'm not meant to, because it's not in the curriculum, right? You guys know that, right?
Hey.
Sure we do. And obviously you don't teach white belts first kata, right? No, we don't. Maybe you don't. Maybe you do. Because you think, what else should I do? I know. Default setting, basics and kata. Yeah?
Okay.
Default setting, basics, kata, boredom. Where's that student gone? They're bored, they're out of here. Yeah? So 12 lessons into it, right? You've done a basic introduction to training, to karate training, and you might have just fumbled your way through first kata. Okay? But then someone says, well, do you know what happens if someone attacks you? Like, what have you learned in 12 weeks of self-defense training, in karate training? Not much. Right? Not much. That's not a good answer. Does it make sense? What if someone was to grab for you? Or, grab your hand, or, try to swing at you? What would you do? I don't know, we haven't learned that yet. I know first kata though. I know first kata. That's all that matters. That's not good enough. Yeah? That's why a little while ago we said, let's not worry about the kata. The kata is, remember someone's journey in karate it takes a long time, right? Like, how long is it going to take for us to train before we think we're really good? Probably never. Like, we're never going to think that. We're always going to be wanting to improve, right? But the most important thing we can teach someone in the beginning is some basic self-defense skills that come straight out of the textbook, straight out of our basics. So today we'll talk a little bit about some of the principles. Yeah? Push, pull, right? Elbows in, guard up. Make sense? Stance, awareness, surrounding. These are things we need to start teaching white belts. So, can you imagine if we were to start this whole thing today? We said, right, we're going to start teach people how to do karate. And karate is self-defense, by the way. In the old days, it was all about protecting in a certain way. Then how do we remember this? We form patterns. We form behavioural movements, behaviours and movements, and structure so that we can remember. And then we use that as part of our training regime in order to get better at the self-defense stuff. But now we probably do all that other stuff, but we forget the self-defense side of it. And maybe that's not good enough. What do you think? Is this just me here, or?
So would you expect, so with various grades we have our casts that go along with those grades, what about self-defense structures that actually go along with those grades as well, so that they still see that progression through the club, and they can see that they're going to get better at this, starting off with a white belt set of defense structures, yellow belt, orange belt, and so forth.
Of course, yeah. Well, see, here's the thing. We can start with the basics. All of our basic techniques have got self-defense. There's purpose behind them. So if we can suggest now that everything I'm going to teach you why you're learning it, and the principles behind it, right? And then the student themselves will go, you know what? You know the way you're teaching me this upper block, which is a strike, and this, the ability to grab the arm and do this push-pull. I get that, but I'm not very good at it. How do I get better at it? They ask the question and they answer their own question. I know what I'll do. I keep coming back. I keep coming back and doing all the basic training, all the structural, formatted training that makes me good at this. Does that make sense? So white belts should be learning. It's almost like they're learning all the application or the bunkai for all of our techniques, basic techniques. So when I show someone something, put the meaning behind a block or whether it's a move or whatever, like you would have, something in their mind changes. They now see the purpose behind what they do. So when they're training, when they're practicing, there's more intensity, there's more vision, there's more focus. Yeah? There's less, this is just boring, repetitious stuff I don't know nothing about. And that's the beauty of what we're talking about. When you get to yellow belt and then you start learning kata, you start putting stuff together from the kata. Today, look, we did 6-7 hours of training today, right? And we did it all on what? Just one kata, like the primary kata, which has got so much application in it, so much self-defense application, so much fighting strategy. Just block, kick, punch, block, punch, kick. You know what I mean? There's so much in that. So what we're saying is, let's use that as a basis for teaching white belts how to do some basic self-defense. And then when you get to start to do kata, then of course Cypher is its own little self-defense system. So much stuff in Cypher. And then you get through to Basa, and then you start learning stuff from Basa. And so on and so on. So, you don't forget the basics, you're always working from, you know what I mean? Self-defense from the basics, but then you start adding. So each kata brings in a whole new structure, a whole new sense of, a set of rules and principles, and you know what I mean? Whether it's, avoiding toe-to-toe, off to the side, doing whatever it is that is within the kata. Yeah? Does that make sense?
So should we really start doing that from the very first class, at least getting with a partner, doing a get arm bri off perhaps?
Yeah? You think about it now. You think, who's got children? You think your son or daughter being old enough to go to training, right? And they go to karate, and they come home. How was it? And they start saying things like, well, it's just boring. I don't want to go back. Yeah? You might force them. You may say, no, you're going back. But how long are you going to last before they just say, I just don't like it. It's just boring. All we do is just, there's no meaning to nothing we do. For example, if they were that articulate, most kids are like, I just don't like it. I don't want to go. Yeah? And most parents go, well then, fair enough. You know what I mean? I'm not going to pay for you to go if you don't want to go. But what if they came home and it's like, What are you learning at karate? And your daughter or your son goes, here, grab my arm. But watch out. Watch this, Dad, you're going to love this. Right? And they show you some stuff. And they talk to you a bit about awareness. About if someone was to attack me, I'd scream, I'd do this, I'd get into a stance, I'd kick him in the private parts, Dad. You know what I'm saying, right? Poke him in the eye, and then you'd be like, okay, this is awesome. Like, this needs to continue, right? And the kids love the training because it's exciting. That's just the kids. Imagine the adults as well. Does it make sense? So how soon should you teach someone, right, that comes to train with you, that a Gedanbrai or an Ug-UK or a Sotu-UK can mean more than just blocking a punch? How soon?
Past one.
Why not? You may not start with that, grab my arm, bang, you know, but you want to start showing. You want to start showing them, this is what this could mean. This is what this, you know, that could mean. And, you know, and what we'll do is we'll design and create, maybe even if it is short videos, to say, here's all the stuff you can do with UK. This is all the stuff that UK could mean. Does that make sense? There's all the stuff that Gedanbrai could mean. This is all the stuff that UK could mean. This is how you can use it for self-defense. This is how you can combine a block and a strike. Does it make sense? A block and a strike. This is how you combine it, and then you can start practicing pretty much straight away. So when there's no kata in class, you can run through the basic the basic structures of motion, right? Using all the strikes that we include, and then as much as you can, put people together and show them, and just do some self-defense training. So the funny thing is, sometimes I'll hear things like, whether it's a region or a dojo, they have this special event on, they have a self-defense seminar, and everyone gets excited. It's like, wow, there's a self-defense seminar, we get to learn self-defense. I mean, they're karate students, blue belts, red belts, brown belts, black belts, but they're going to a self-defense seminar to learn self-defense. Shouldn't they be learning that in class anyway? Like, what's the difference? You know what I mean? So I might say, let's start with self-defense, and then they'll come back to the karate. But what I'm really saying is, let's start with the real meaning of karate. This is what it really is, and this is what the techniques are really doing. This is what they mean. This is why it's important to have square hips, or using your hips, or pushing them off to the side when you're getting into stances. Yeah? White belts can learn how to move forward in stance, and block, and punch, right? And they can do some self-defense application with it. And then when they get to yellow belt, when it's time to put the kata together, it's just easy. It's just easy. Right? Because I've seen so many students get to yellow belt gradings, and even orange belts, right? And they do katas like, they do silly things, like, you know, they block and they've got to somehow bring the leg up and do that. And then somehow a punch starts from there. Have you seen that? Like, why are you doing that for? Well, because no one taught me the basics. No one taught me to just come through and do this. All I'm focused on is H-pack. So I'm just like, just doing this. Yeah? Does it make sense?
So do you see the students wearing mitts and pants from sort of, a bit earlier than they currently do then?
Maybe not. I don't know if they need that just yet. And it doesn't have to be full. I'm not talking about black belts doing, you know, self-defense training. We're talking about showing beginners. We're talking about doing it very lightly, very controlled.
We had a situation where we did a session with some brownies. It was terrifying. Because they started, got me going through some really basic stuff, and they were knocking lumps at each other. And it's like, okay, you're going to have to use me as the target because you're hurting each other. So then we took it down throughout that.
And that's a valid point, right? Some of you might be thinking, oh, you know, lower grades, white belts, no control, they might hurt each other. Well, you know, they're in a safe environment. We need to teach them how to do this safely. You know what I mean? We need to teach them how to do it safely. There shouldn't be no, you know, no, what do you call it? No fear. That, oh, if we teach them this stuff, they'll hurt themselves. Well, they are there to learn karate anyway. Right? They're not doing sparring. Okay? They're doing very, very controlled, predetermined self-defense moves to show them what the application means for the punches, the strikes, and the blocks. Does Does that make sense?
They
Sorry, yes.
you can't wrap them in cotton wool. They are learning a martial art, and they will learn through their mistakes. You know, if they do a block badly and it hurts them, then we teach them how to do it correctly. So I think, you know, the little traumas that they'll go through in the early stages are small in comparison to the big journey they're going to have in their life.
Yes.
It happens in adults as well. It's not just kids.
Exactly.
You know, grown-ups come in and they come in, every strike, every block is a strike, and they're so rigid. But we don't pat them on the back and take them off and give them a lemonade if they get upset. You know, it's a case of pull yourself together. I have kids that cry sometimes when they take a punch to the face or punch to the stomach, and the parents are quite amused by it. And you say to them, you know, don't toughen up, princess is a term I've heard a lot, but you tell them it's the fear of being hurt more than the actual pain of taking that little shot to the nose or the tummy.
Exactly.
Once they
Look,
get
I
over
mean,
that, it's easier.
accidents may happen, but again, it's not like the sparring. Because you all know the most dangerous people to spar are yellow belts, right? I avoid yellow and orange belts like plague. They're the most dangerous people on the planet. So it's not free sparring. It is all predetermined. Just, you know, no takedowns, no spinning stuff, no dangerous things, but enough to show people. You know, enough to show kids and adults. This is what happens. This is what happens if someone grabs you. For the kids especially. We've got all the kids' self-defense curriculum on the websites. We've got stage 1, which is just for the school, which is basically just like leave me alone. We've got stage 2, which is outside of school, which is leave me alone and then some, right? We can be teaching this stuff. Every time anyone sees this, I think, was it last weekend? No, sorry, last month. Gavin was in Melbourne teaching some seminars, and I think you may want to just elaborate on this, because you were talking to that parent or that child, red belt, blue belt.
Yeah, it's green belt kids, and
Yeah.
a couple of families come up, and self-defense class predominantly, a bit like we did today. The parents come up and said, wow, that's really great, we're going to start doing that in class. Self-defense techniques in class. Like, yeah, we're doing some of the other things, like we did today, standard kid stuff. And I looked down and they had a green belt on, so they've been training for a year and they haven't done it. Like it was teaching something new, like bringing something new into the curriculum.
Yeah.
That would think that's actually being taught. But too much is like, oh, we've got a few minutes left, we might do one of these instead of making a little bit more of a regular part of the training. Parents like to see it too. Parents want to join after watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do that.
There was a lot of that the kids ones, right, it wasn't me, all that stuff as well, which is, kids love that stuff. Kids need to know that stuff. We should be teaching that stuff. You know what I mean? And it's not like, oh, I've done it a few times. I've heard people say, like, even obviously high grades, black belts. I've heard senior instructors and instructors say to me, oh yeah, we haven't done that for a while. That bunkai for that kata. It's like, it's what we should be doing a lot of. It's how we're conditioning ourselves to be able to move. Remember, good training creates good training habits. And the good habits create good instincts. And instinct is what we are, the only thing we can rely on if we're ever facing, some danger out there in the field, right? It's up to instinct, isn't it? Right? So good training, philosophy and good training, people that need to be inspired to know what they're doing, why they're doing it, okay? And how they're doing it. Do it well, creates good habits, and then that becomes our instinct. But see, right, we all know repetition is the mother of skill. We all know that repetition is the thing, right? Yeah? It gives us, what we want more of, right? Muscle memory, muscle strength, muscle speed, efficiency in terms of movement, a dynamic sort of motion. This all happens through training. Not just through doing it once or twice, thinking we know it, like a lot of the internet ninjas, the keyboard ninjas on there. I'm sure there's still some people on the internet that they must just love just talking about everyone else and forget that they're no good themselves, right? Because I'm sure all the good people, all the good martial artists are not online bagging out other clubs. Because you don't get good, by being a fool. You get good by having a good attitude, having a humble attitude, and just, understanding all the principles of what it is to be a karateka. or a martial artist. Yeah? Does that make sense? Yes.